Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Friday. We're glad you're along for the ride. We're going to crank it up here in just a second with JC on the Titan MR Hotline. Second portion of today's show, we're going to be joined by Gray Robertson, the voice of the Alabama softball team, but he also is the voice of Florida Gulf Coast League. He knows so much about college softball because all these girls play in these summer leagues. We're going to get his thoughts on the NCAA tournament, which cranked up last night, but starts for the Gators today at 2 o'clock at KDC Shoal Presley Stadium against South Florida. So first, let's go to the Titan MR Hotline. We're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
All right. Good morning. A beautiful day for softball. Absolutely. Clear skies, beautiful weather, and a big crowd expected. It's great to see the Gators.
It'll be a packed house, 100% capacity.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And look, they win this region, they then host a super regional and hopefully move on. But it's going to be a great day. Certainly the PGA Championship has got my attention. Last night we had hockey, Florida pulling out an overtime win over Tampa Bay to pull within 2 games to 1 in that series. But the PGA Championship is kind of what took my time a lot yesterday, or took a lot of my time yesterday, QB.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I just want to do some news and notes from on campus.
Sure.
Men's tennis goes to the Final Four. They will be playing one of another JC's teams, the Texas Longhorns. As I said, softball today. Baseball loses last night against Arkansas. They play the Hogs again today. I want to congratulate the Gator men's golf team. Next week, they will be competing in the national championship. They came from behind. They're one of the top 5 seeds in their region. They move on. So that's your news and notes on campus. As we said, 2 o'clock today, Gator softball cranks up. But yes, there's hockey playoffs. The Lightning lost. JC, I know you're upset about that. Obviously, the Bruins must have won their hat on today.
Well, they played tonight.
Hang on. I had my Baker Sporting Goods High School roundup yesterday. We're going to give a shout out. The Trenton Tigers won the 1A state title once again in softball. I think it was on Wednesday. Last night, Newberry wins their first ever state baseball title.
I gotta be honest, man. They overachieve over there at those schools. Trenton is always in the mix of something special, either football wise or, like you said last night, softball. And then Newberry winning in baseball. Their volleyball team, their girls volleyball team, went to the state finals in the prior season. Lost to Sneads, but were there. They were there under the great coaching of one George Roan. And I think the baseball team winning the state championship, I mean, something's going on West Alachua County, Gilchrist County, because these guys, they really bring it when they come to the ballpark, and that's just great to see, or the football field. So good for those 2 schools.
Yep, no doubt about it. But as you mentioned, the PGA Championship.
Oh, man.
Gator Sam Horsfield went to sleep last night, tied for second place. He's bogeyed a couple of holes today, but I don't even think a lot of people even know who Sam Horsfield is. Yeah,
he's from England, but he's a former Gator golfer. He bogeyed the first hole, so he's -2. So he goes from tied for second to tied for 8th. It may have just updated. Maybe he's bogeyed another hole. Hopefully not. Well,
I got some Facebook Lives here. John says,
here we go.
JC has traded the Tampa Bay Lightning in for the Bruins, the biggest bandwagon fan.
No, well, obviously they don't know me, but thank you for that. Oh, by the way, Horsfield just birdied. He just birdied number 2, so he's back to even. He is now tied for second at 3 under. Corey Connors just bogeyed a hole, so he's -4. So they're getting it started early in the morning. DeChambeau said yesterday this is the hardest course on tour that he has ever played. So if the wind's kicking up on the beach or on the ocean course up there at Kiowa Island, expect some struggling to go on out there because it's a hard layout. But yeah, no, I've always loved the Bruins. But since I live in Florida, I got to go to the Tampa games, right? They're a lot closer to Boston. And I root for Tampa Bay. It's kind of hard to be me, QB.
Oh, it's definitely hard to be you. There's no question.
Yeah.
Corey Connors from Canada has one of the sweetest swings I've ever seen, and he murders the ball. And he's got the smoothest, easiest swing. He played effortless golf yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, he shot. He was 5 under. Now he's given one back, but he'll be around. I think his game is really good. And Brooks Koepka, if his knee holds up, could really be a factor. He's always good in these majors. It's so funny how he can kind of just slough around at the Byron Nelson or at the Bing Crosby or wherever he plays, if he plays in that. But once he shows up at a major, he is always a threat to win. It's kind of funny how he turns the switch on the tough courses and the tough tournaments. But during these weeklies, or I mean, not these weeklies, but these in-between tournaments, if he's playing, you don't ever see him. It's amazing.
I don't think he really cares. And
right,
quite honestly, I don't think he does.
Yeah, I think he works on his game to prove.
Well, there's a lot of people
for the majors.
Well, I don't know if he really works on his game that much. I know a couple people that know him that say that it's amazing the talent that he has because he doesn't practice. They say he hardly ever practices.
That's
he just
crazy.
shows up and plays.
Well, that is crazy, but I do think it's odd how his game turns up the volume goes up for him in the majors, but during these in between tournaments, he's just kind of out there. But he's got the capability of winning this, as we know, he's a multi-major winner, and I hope his knee holds up because if it does, he'll be around. And how about Phil Mickelson? I thought it was great seeing him birdie 4 holes yesterday on the back 9 to shoot a 32 and finish 2 under par after shooting 2 over on the front. And Phil is always one of those guys that if he's around on the weekend and certainly on Sunday, that will add interest, I think, to the viewing on Sunday when we find out who wins this thing.
If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, not drugs or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline, we'll be joined by Gray Robertson, voice of Alabama softball, but also covers all kinds of softballs in the summertime with these girls. Get his thoughts on the national perspective, especially some of those Pac-12 teams that were pissed off still. Last night, Arizona State was the only the region that played. Arizona State won. So we'll see what his thoughts are on.
Yeah, and I'm curious if I'm curious if they reseed these teams once they get to. I mean, I know we're still ways off to Oklahoma City, but I'm just curious because if it matters if you're on either side of the brackets. Because you want to avoid Oklahoma, obviously, as much as you can. But I don't know how that works. But QB,
you really want to avoid Oklahoma and UCLA, quite honestly.
Yeah, yes,
because UCLA still has that one player that I think UCLA. They're the last national champ, right?
Well, whoever won it in 2019, it could have been.
It was UCLA.
Yeah, I think they beat Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma was playing for it, but they lost in 2019. I do remember that. I'm trying to remember who won it, though.
I'm pretty sure it was UCLA. John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. He says they do not reseed.
Okay. Well, then if you're on Oklahoma's side, good luck with them. Now, when they get to the Final 8 in Oklahoma City, I know they cross over and play each other because it's a double elimination.
Only if you lose. I think once you lose, you go to the other bracket.
Yeah, because it's a double elimination scenario, and losing on the first day makes it extremely hard to get to go forward from there. So I know winning those first games in Oklahoma City or in Omaha or wherever is a tantamount importance. QB, listen, I was listening to. I want your perspective on this. I'm going to kind of shift gears if it's okay. And I was listening to a nationwide college football show on Sirius Satellite last night, and they ranked the top 10 coaches today. Who would you put as the top 10 football coaches today? And on that list, Dan Mullen did make the top 10. He was 10th. And Saban and Dabo were 1 and 2. But an interesting thing was said. And one of the hosts of that show was saying that if it was just X's and O's and all the athletes were the same, if they were all the same and it was just X's and O's, who would you want coaching your team? And they said it would be either Pat Fitzgerald or Matt Campbell. And I thought to myself, really, Pat Fitzgerald or Matt Campbell? Well, they're doing pretty well at schools that are small, but why wouldn't you want Nick Saban or Dabo with X's and O's?
I think what they're referring to is they think Matt Campbell and Pat Fitzgerald do more with less talent.
With less,
obviously no X's and O's. Look, I don't even know the answer to that. I do think Dan's a great play caller. He can out-scheme people. I think Saban's the same way. A lot of people don't think Dabo's a great coach. He's a great motivator, great recruiter, has good assistants. That's a tremendous question.
If the talent is the same.
I guess having not been in their meeting rooms,
that's just
seeing how they call plays, seeing how they coach it. That's hard to answer.
It's hard to answer. It's hard to answer. But I think what you said is that, some of these guys get more with less. But remember, Saban came to Alabama, and that program was in shambles. They were 6-6 his first year they were there. He replaced Mike Shula. So he knows how to build as well.
Well, he does. But I will say the one thing about Nick, and he's a tremendous coach. He's the greatest of all time. But he's had the best players every year too, which that's not his fault. That's his credit for getting them.
Well, true, but he didn't always have the best players. He didn't have the best players at Michigan State, and some would argue he may not have had the best players at LSU, but he got that program to get the best players. He figured out a way to attract the best players, QB.
Dan wants to know here on Facebook Live, did Deion make the list?
Well, no, I don't see Deion, but let me tell you what they were real quick. I'll just run through them. It was Saban 1, Dabo 2, Lincoln Riley came in at 3, Brian Kelly 4, Ryan Day 5. They put Ed Orgeron in at 6.
Oh, Kirby. As well. Well, what was the criteria again for this?
Just top 10 coaches right now, and there is no criteria. It's just the top 10 names in college football.
I don't know how Ed O's there. Okay,
well,
he should not be on there.
Well, he won a national championship.
I don't.
You had Kirby Smart was 7, Jimbo Fisher was 8. Then you had Matt Campbell 9, and Dan Mullen was 10, and Pat Fitzgerald was 10A. They said so.
I guess on that list, I'd say out of great coaches, from an X's and O's standpoint, my number one guy would be Lincoln Riley.
Well, yeah, he was 4, and Jimbo's.
I can tell you right now, from X's and O's standpoint, Coach O ain't in my top 60.
Jimbo was also thought of as a good X's and O's guy.
I agree with that.
And certainly Matt Campbell and Pat Fitzgerald. So Ryan Day, I think he's a very good coach.
JC, you're going to love this Facebook Live from Joseph. Joseph says,
"Oh gosh,
Saban also got a blank checkbook when he got to Alabama to get all that top talent."
Yeah, it's great. When you're on top, they just take shots, but it's okay. No, I don't think anybody at Alabama
can you handle it, JC? Can you handle it?
I've obviously handled it quite well. Yes.
We got a text here on the Titan More text line. It comes from our good friend Ryan. He says, "Happy Friday, gents. The college admissions debate Wednesday was riveting. Was wondering if y'all could discuss the geo-economical impact of Gator fan students having to go to school elsewhere. I'm kidding, of course. Enjoy your PGA Championship game this weekend."
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many Facebook Lives and comments after the show was over that people were pissed off. They were agreeing with my assessment. So
yeah, well, I mean, it could be accurate. I don't really know. I mean, you feel pretty strongly about it. I do agree with you that the admission standards at Florida have gotten kind of unreasonable, to say the least. And I do know that there is an agenda behind it, as there is with many schools who are looking to attract more dollars and out-of-state talent, and so forth and so on. But those schools have smaller pools to pull from. Florida has a massive pool to pull kids from, right? We know this because Florida is such a populous state. But a state like Alabama or Mississippi, they want kids from out of state. It's pretty obvious. They're willing to help pay for that. I know that for a fact. But at Florida, you have such a diverse pool to pull from within the state alone. I don't know why it's so hard to get into UF, but some kids do and some kids don't. By the way, QB, since I was on last time, we had our 6th no-hitter.
I saw that. That's crazy.
Clayton Kershaw says it's not good for the game, whatever he meant by that. But Corey Kluber, 6th no-hitter of the season. That's the most no-hitters before the end of May in Major League Baseball history. Already 1 shy of tying the most in the season in the modern era, and 2 shy of tying the overall Major League Baseball record of 8, which was set back in 1884, if there was such a thing.
We're not even to the All-Star break. It's crazy.
Well,
because the game has changed. You know, it's either you hit a home run or you strike out. And to have 6 already, I saw that. I'm glad you brought that up. It's crazy. So let me ask you this question, JC. You being an avid baseball fan, loving your New York Yankees when they're winning.
Oh, yes.
Or it's the Tampa Bay Rays when they go to the World Series.
When they're winning.
Padres now that they're decent. Would you rather, because you're one of these guys that loves to go to actual games and sit in crazy-ass seats that are so uncomfortable.
I love it. No.
Would you rather witness a 14-13 home run derby type game, or would you rather watch a no-hitter?
Well, I've never seen a no-hitter, so it's hard to say, but I think I'd like to watch all those hits. Yeah, I like to watch guys score. I like balls flying out of parks. I like crowds getting excited. I don't like sleepy games. I like energized games. I like strategy. I like hitting runs. I like stealing bases. I like hitting the cutoff man on a ball to the gap. I like seeing how defensively the teams get themselves in position to throw a guy out at third or at home. So I like seeing action. So I like runs being scored.
Yeah. Don't forget here, I failed to mention. No, I did mention it. The men's tennis team plays Texas. It's today. I thought it was in a couple of days. It's today to go to play for the national title. Wow. I don't know who the other 2 teams are. How
about Brian Shelton? What a job.
We're number 1 in America, and Texas is number 4. So
it's amazing. I see Brian out here playing golf when he has the time quite a bit. And he's just a humble, quiet guy, always smiling. He knows he's got a good team, and he's done a great job coaching these guys.
Yep. So anyway,
because men's tennis has always taken a backseat at Florida to the women, right? It just has. Historically speaking, the women have won so much more than the men, and here we are with an opportunity to see the men hold up the trophy. It's awesome.
Yeah. So good luck to those guys today.
Yeah.
And again, softball today cranks up. I'm one of these guys, obviously Friday, I love to play golf, but tonight's the night, you come home and there's like softball regional coverage till late night, watching the West Coast games.
I love watching the postseason in women's softball because these girls, they lay it all out there on the line. They care. They don't get paid. It's about winning and just winning. And that's all that matters to them. And the postseason is very exciting. I'm with you there. I could stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning watching that stuff.
Yeah, so I probably will. I'm that kind of guy.
That's me too. I'm the same way. I could watch this stuff all day. We got PGA golf. For some people, they got paid today because it's Friday. It's just a good day. And look at the weather we have. Look at the weather we have outside. Here in North Central Florida, it'll be in the high 80s. This is what I love.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. Measure lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, we'll be joined by Gray Robertson talking a little NCAA softball, second portion of the show. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, Shane, will you be at the Women's College World Series? I've been twice.
I've been once.
I've been twice. Go this year. It's been a while since last time I went was the series we lost to Arizona State for the national title. We never won it since I've gone. So maybe I don't know. I was there when we lost to UW. Danielle Laurie was the pitcher. We lost in that series for the national title. And I was there when we lost to Arizona State. I think it was Arizona State.
Well, I thought it was UCLA. Was it not? It was Arizona State.
We've played for it several times, haven't we?
Yeah, and I thought Megan, what's her name, the redheaded player out of UCLA who won an MVP the year they won it. I thought they beat Florida, but the Gators have also won it, and they beat Alabama
Won it twice.
for that championship and won it twice. And
back to back, JC, back to back.
Yeah, and that's, that puts them up there with the elites in the elite status and the company. I saw the game that Florida played against Nebraska that went about 6 hours. Chris Harry and I were sitting together because we were covering this for our respective media outlets. And Chris and I sat there through 6 hours of a game that Florida beat Nebraska in. That must have gone 20 innings. I can't remember, but it was one of those nights, and it was incredible. I'll never forget that game.
There. I was there the first year, like I told you, the first time Tim and them made it to the final series against Washington. But I was there when Allie Gardner hit, I think it was the grand slam against Alabama. Was it Alabama?
It was. She was
opposite field grand slam. That's when they had at the ballpark there at that Olympic Stadium or whatever the hell they call it out there in Oklahoma City. Now it's this was like, shoot, that was in what, 2006, 2007, something like that.
Way back.
That's when they had the little miniature fences that were like made out of mesh, where the girls could like fall over the fence.
Yeah,
and it was only about 5 feet tall. The fence. That's the one that she hit. It's one of the greatest home runs ever in Florida softball history.
It's one of the best events to go watch also. I mean, it's a football atmosphere. You got 8 schools, different people everywhere, hotels packed, the city is lively, and then it starts to whittle away as teams lose.
JC, why don't you tell us real quick when we're talking softball, the one time you went out there, didn't you have to deal with tornadoes?
I did, and I got caught at Toby Keith's bar and restaurant in the middle of the day. It got very dark outside, and people were scattering, and I ordered another one. And somehow they told me to leave and find shelter. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I walked outside from Toby Keith's all the way downtown to the Sheraton Hotel, got to the Sheraton Hotel, went upstairs, fell asleep. The sirens and the alarms were going off. I was the only person there. Sam Walton's texting me like, where the hell are you? You need to be down in the basement. It's very dangerous. And it was very dark and windy. I'm on the 12th floor at the Sheraton. I wake up. I go out. The entire place is empty. I go into the elevator, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go down the stairs. I go down the elevator. The doors open up, and every single team's in the basement. And they look at me like, where have you been? What are you doing? You idiot. You should have been down here half an hour ago. But I survived. QB.
You're still here.
We were stuck in the basement for a while. And then we went to a hockey game with Jess, Aunt Jess and the rest of them. And we took a tunnel from the Sheraton downtown all the way down to Chesapeake Arena or wherever it was to watch this minor league hockey game. And the tornado did not hurt us. Now, Tim and the team got stuck down in Norman, Oklahoma, because they were down visiting. I think Coach Stoops or somebody was down there. And the Gator softball team got stuck in Norman. They didn't get back to Oklahoma City until very late that night because it was in May, and that is tornado season in Oklahoma. And
there's no question. And they'll probably have rain delays and tornadoes this year as well.
It's rough. Well, I mean, right now it seems to have been pretty quiet. It's already May the 21st, and so we're getting through it.
Well, it doesn't seem like any bad weather happens out there until it's the week
they play
of the Women's College World Series.
And same with baseball in Omaha.
We got a text on the Titan MR text line from Sharon. She says, "Hey guys, love the show. Do y'all think the Gator softball team makes it to Oklahoma City?" I do. I think they're set up pretty good. I think they win this week, and they get the winner of the Georgia Duke.
Yes, that's right. Georgia Duke.
Duke is the better team, but they can't play at home, so they have to play in Athens. So I think we'll either face Duke or Georgia.
Well, we have picks, QB. We made our picks. We've got the picks, and we'll go through these after the weekend to see who wins. We only have 3 different picks. You've got Washington in one region. I've taken Michigan. You've got James Madison. I've taken Tennessee. And you've taken Oregon, and I've taken Texas. But the rest of our picks, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Arizona, Arkansas, LSU, FSU, Arizona State, and UCLA. Actually, you took UCF, so that's another difference in the FSU region. But we, out of the 16, we picked 4 different ones, and we'll see how we come out. But I think most of the SEC teams are going to do just fine in this.
Yeah, I mean, I just went out on a limb with James Madison. They got a good little program.
Oh, you never know. I mean, it could happen. Hot pitcher. Tennessee, though, I like Tennessee. We'll see. I just think that the SEC is going to do well. I don't know if Mississippi State's going to survive, and I don't know if Georgia's going to survive.
JC, let me ask you this, because do you have the bracket in front of you? If chalk prevails, how many SEC teams could be in the 8 that go to OKC?
All right, so give me
Probably
a minute to pull it up.
6 of the 8?
If chalk prevails, I think that's right, because Mississippi State is not a favorite, but they are in it. But as I look at it right now, is Georgia favored? No, Duke would be favored. So they would.
Well, I'm talking about it doesn't matter. I'm talking about to get to Oklahoma City, because we think the Gators are going to go to OKC, so they would beat whoever comes out of the Duke Georgia region.
So I'm looking at so I'm looking at the top seeds. Missouri would be an 8 seed. They would hold serve because Tennessee's a 9, so they would make it. Florida as a 4 seed would make it, obviously. And then I swing it over to the other side. Alabama as a 3 seed would make it. LSU as a 7 seed would make it. And that would be it. So how many did I just name?
I was reading a text, so I don't know.
Oh, Arkansas also is a 6 seed. So Alabama, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, Florida, and those are all your those are your top. Those are in the top 8.
So how many is that? 6 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? 6 SEC teams in OKC.
Boy, how
and they would be joined by Oklahoma and UCLA.
Right. So you have one from the Big 12, one from the Pac-12, and one from 6 from the SEC, either 5 or 6. So yeah. And I don't know. I mean, Missouri, they could make it. They may get knocked off. Tennessee could slip in there. They're a 9 seed, but they would have to play each other. If so, either Tennessee or Missouri as an 8 or a 9 seed in those brackets would end up meeting in a super regional if they held up.
Yeah. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. From now till May 31st, get our preventative maintenance plan for $169 and save almost 40% off the normal cost. Any maintenance schedule between now and May 31st, you'll be entered to win a Nest thermostat with installation. Not a whole lot happened this day in sports, JC, but back in 1981, you know who won the Stanley Cup?
Oh,
you know who won the Stanley Cup in 1981?
I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It would be the Islanders and the Nassau Coliseum. They went back to back, and they beat the Minnesota North Stars.
Yes, who then turned into the Dallas Stars. Yes.
And then they went back to the Minnesota Wild. Are they still playing?
Well, the Minnesota Wild is a playoff team. They're playing right now in the playoffs. I think they're behind Vegas 2-1. But the Dallas Stars they came from the Minnesota North Stars. And yeah, the Islanders, I think, have 4 Stanley Cups, but they've been kind of a quiet team since that time.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, JC.
Big weekend, man.
Huge weekend of sports. As I said, good luck to the men's tennis team today, trying to get to the national championship match. Yeah, and softball cranking it up. Women's golf's at the NCAAs. Men's golf will be there next week. Baseball, they lost last night. I don't see them being a top 8 seed now.
Probably not. But they'll host, and we'll have a full house at the baseball park, which is great. But you're right. They'll probably have to travel if they want to get to Omaha, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, JC.
All right, my man.
Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you Monday. Soon, my man.
Okay. All right. See you Monday.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Elm hotline. We're going to take our first time out of the pro. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Gray Robertson, voice of Alabama softball, but also voice of the Florida Gulf Coast professionals, not professional, but the softball league, where all these college girls get his thoughts on what's going on and his prediction of what's going to happen in the NCAA softball tournament. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, and coming summer of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. We're going to be joined by radio analyst for Alabama softball, also the voice of the Florida Gulf Coast League softball, Gray Robertson. Good morning, Gray. How are you, my man?
Morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I wanted to bring you on. Obviously, NCAA regional play starts today. I think Arizona State played last night. First of all, let's talk SEC, because you've seen the SEC. Alabama didn't win the regular season, but they beat our Gators in the tournament. So many, I think we have 6 or 7 national seeds out of the SEC. Do you think the champion could be a team from the SEC this year?
I think that's definitely a possibility. It's hard to ignore the front runners, Oklahoma and UCLA. Oklahoma this year could be generationally good. UCLA definitely has the best player in the country in Rachel Garcia, but behind that, it's tough to find a conference that challenges itself more than the SEC. So all these SEC teams are ready. Pretty much all the SEC teams as well have reliable arms in the circle that they can trust to make a deep postseason run. I mean, Tennessee at the 9 seed, they've got maybe one of the toughest pitchers I've ever seen throw in Ashley Rogers. Alabama's got Montana Fouts, who's been pitching on another level of late. Florida's got ERA-wise the best pitching staff in the conference. So I think it's definitely a possibility. But I also feel like this year is so wide open, it's tough to tell because we haven't had a postseason in a really long time. So this is going to be a new experience for a lot of the players playing this year.
Yeah, I was just talking to my partner, JC, before you came on. We were trying to remember the last national champ. Is it UCLA?
It is.
Yeah. They had that Garcia girl back then too, right?
Yeah, she's won Player of the Year twice. I think her ERA this year is 0.5. She's still hitting over 400. She continues to be ridiculous.
Yeah, no doubt. And Oklahoma is a powerful team. They can just bomb home runs. Let's talk Alabama real quick. As you said, they got I think she was the pitcher of the year in the conference, Montana Fouts. I think the player of the year, Bailey Hemphill, if I'm not mistaken. Just talk about who they have in their region there in Tuscaloosa this week.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're very excited to get going today. And it is a semi-tough regional for the number 3 overall seed. And that kind of boils down to NCAA bracketology and bracketing principles and the politics of that, which is a whole nother conversation. But Clemson comes in, the ACC regular season champs, as the 2 seed. And this is their first full year as a program. They started last year. Oh. They were okay. But this year, they were on another level. They've got the ACC freshman and player of the year in Valerie Cagle. She was a finalist for National Player of the Year, top 10, and I think she's still in the running for National Freshman of the Year. She's fantastic. I watched a lot of film on her yesterday to get ready in case we see them this weekend, and she's got all the goods in the circle and is a really composed bat for them in the lineup. And then Troy, people don't realize that Troy has one of the best strikeout pitchers in the country as well. Leanna Johnson is consistently up there, has been throughout her career. She's really solid. Alabama State comes in running through the SWAC last week. They had a pitcher in Skylar Sullivan who kind of pulled a Montana Fouch. She pitched all 4 days of the SWAC tournament, 4 games, 4 days, 30 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, and led the Lady Hornets, to the postseason. So it's going to be an interesting test. This is not the first time Alabama has drawn a very tough 2 seed, but Alabama's handled those teams pretty well in the past. They've won 40 straight regional games. So I think the team has to be pretty confident right now.
Yeah, the ACC, as you mentioned, Clemson wins it. Duke is a top 8 seed, or they were a top 16 seed. I can't remember, but they have to travel to Athens. Mm-hmm. Is that a state of North Carolina rule, governing bodies, or why are they traveling?
Well, again, it kind of goes into this being a weird year. So a couple months back, the NCAA announced that they would be doing quote unquote predetermined sites. So you had to put in a bid to host a regional. They picked 20. I believe it was 3 weeks ago. And then of those 20, 16 of those host sites were supposed to host for regionals, and Duke was not one of the 20. The initial rumor was that they didn't put in a bid just because they've been pretty strict on campus about who can be in the stadium and ticket sales and stuff like that. But apparently they did put in a bid and just weren't picked. So unfortunately, Duke is kind of a big loser in the predetermined sites situation because they were good enough to host. They went on a great run in the regular season, but because they weren't one of the 20, they never had a chance.
We're speaking with Gray Robertson here on the Titan MR hotline at Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Looking at the Florida Gators, obviously you saw them a lot this year. They win the regular season title along with Arkansas. When you see this Gator team, what do you see?
I see a team that knows how to win, and that is a total credit to Tim Walton and that coaching staff and the culture that they have built. Because when you look at Florida top to bottom and you scout them, they don't seem scary. Like, they've got some good bats. Charlotte Eccles, it would be best to walk her. Kendall Lindemann has been doing really well of late. Hannah Adams was one of the top averages in the conference for most of the year. But beyond that, there's not a ton that makes you nervous if you're an opposing pitcher. And we've seen that the last couple of weeks. Florida keeps falling behind to teams, and then because of that winning culture, they find ways to win. So it's an interesting team. I think it hurts them a little bit that they are more staff oriented and not ace oriented. They don't really, in my opinion, have someone that they can rely on to throw 2 games in a row and shut down a team if necessary. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But obviously, it's a good team. They've been there before. They've got experience. They've got a lot of talent up and down, and they've got a great defense. Their defense, it's very rare to see them make a mistake. So they're going to be fundamentally sound, but it's all about whether or not they can get the big hits. And I trust it from the top of the lineup. The bottom of a lineup, you kind of have to hope you get those every now and then.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment as well. You look at Arkansas; they go from worst to first. They're the co-regular season champs. What made the Hogs, or the Lady Hogs, turn it around so quick?
Well, first off, Courtney Deifel is one of my favorite coaches in this league. In the offseason, my radio partner Tom and I, we host a podcast, and we did softball media days where we talked to all the head coaches, and one of our favorites is Courtney Deifel, because when we talked to her, we could tell that she knew she had something, and she was super genuine, and she's super excited about that. And I think what really rounded Arkansas into form this year was the fact that their offense finally caught up with their pitching. For the last couple of years, Autumn Storms and Mary Half have been a great 1-2 punch in the circle. They've been able to throw well throughout the year despite some injuries, but the offense was never quite at that level. And this year that was totally different. They led the SEC in home runs. Braxton Burnside for most of the year was front runner to be SEC player of the year, but her average kind of dipped, and that's what lost her that award. But they're just much scarier offensively, and that has made them a more well-rounded team. the defense was terrible last year and 2 years ago, and this year they're much more sound. They don't commit nearly as many errors. So they've just improved all the way around, and that's definitely a credit to Courtney Deifel and that staff because they brought in their players, they've developed the players that they already had, and they've made them a really formidable team.
Great. When we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melvin Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Dan wants to know, how do you know what Duke's softball facilities are like? Because maybe that's why they didn't even put a bid in.
I do not. I have not been over there. This is a new program. They've been around, I believe 2018 was their first year. But in some of the videos I've seen, it looks nice. So I'm not sure if the facilities are the issue. The committee made it sound like they just didn't think Duke was one of the top 20 teams in the country a couple weeks ago. And that kind of makes sense. Their resume wasn't super strong as I was putting everything together before the selection show. But the reason they got in was because they were hot at the end of the year, which is something the committee always looks at. And they won the ACC tournament, which historically the selection committee has valued conference tournaments way more than they probably should. So I think that they were just kind of put in a bind with Duke. But facility-wise, I'm not totally sure. I can't really confirm that.
Okay, speaking of the selection show, I think if anyone watched it, they saw when it got to the 16 seed, the Washington Huskies, they got up and walked right out of their room. Were you shocked that they were seeded 16?
Sort of. In my opinion, I thought their resume was really light. I had them, I think, 13, which was lower than most people. But at the same time, it's hard to look at that team and say, yes, this is the 16th best team in the country. And as we were all watching the selection show, I was with the team, we were all kind of looking around and saying, wait, Washington hasn't gone yet. It was definitely a surprise, but, you know, they're definitely a talented team. I feel like if the committee used more eye test instead of hurting Washington for losses that happened in February, then they would have been seated higher. Their resume wasn't, like I said, super duper strong, but definitely better than a 16 seed. And what really bothered me with how the selections went down was it appeared like around the country, head-to-head mattered, which in my opinion, in a weird year like this, when the RPI and strength of schedule are so wonky and no one's really playing the same kind of schedule across all the conferences, head-to-head should matter more than ever. In the Pac-12, it really didn't. Washington had the head-to-head over Arizona, a team that were seated 5 spots lower than. Arizona was 1-5 this year against Washington and Arizona State. They were seated well above those two teams. So that, to me, was the perplexing part about how the Pac-12 was handled in the selection process.
So in the Pac-12 also, Oregon is going to be traveling to play at Texas, where that head coach used to be the head coach at Oregon. Obviously, the NCAA committee wanted this matchup, right?
Yeah, which I don't like it. I mean, why are we doing this? Why? First off, Texas shouldn't be hosting. Oregon's resume is doubly as strong as Texas's. Texas had 3 RPI top 25 wins. Oregon had 6. Texas got swept by both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in the regular season, and Texas also lost a game to Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament. I was shocked to see Texas hosting, and then to have Oregon go to Austin, that's just stirring the pot.
Gray, we got another question here for you from John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melvin Law. He wants to know, does the committee value conference tournaments over the regular season champ?
I don't think they would tell you that, but the data certainly seems to suggest that, which is, insane. I mean, again, going back to the Pac-12, right? They don't have a conference tournament, but Arizona was 5th in the league this year, and they were the 2nd highest seed in the Pac-12. And the only reason I can think of was because they scheduled a trip to go out to Florida to play in the non-conference against UCF and Florida State, which good for them, but they were 1-3 in those games. So at what point do we actually reward these teams for results on the field versus what the paper says? Their strength of schedule was good. Their non-conference strength of schedule was good because they scheduled those games, but they won 25% of those. So it's interesting to see what the committee values each year. Certainly, I think you could argue that the SEC tournament is valued more than the SEC regular season based on how the last couple of years we have seen the SEC tournament champion rated higher than the SEC regular season champion. Florida in 2019 was the 5 seed. Alabama, the regular season champ, was the 8 seed. This year, Alabama, the 3 seed. Florida and Arkansas, 4 and 6. So there are other resume reasons for that, but I don't think that these schools get nearly enough credit, especially in the Power 5, for winning their leagues.
Gray, when you look at your bracket, I'm sure you've already filled it all out.
Multiple.
And got Alabama winning the national title, which is fine. But how many SEC schools do you think make it to Oklahoma City?
I think I had 3. Yeah, I had 3. Or excuse me, I had 3. I've got Alabama, Missouri, and Florida making it to OKC. I've got kind of an upset over in Baton Rouge. I've got them losing the Baton Rouge Regional to Louisiana. That's just partially because I really don't think LSU is that good. Sorry, Tiger fans, but I've got 3 in Oklahoma City, which I think would be a good number for this conference. I think in particular, Missouri has about as clear a route as you could imagine. I think they've got the easiest regional. Losing that regional or even losing a game would be a pretty big disappointment with UNI, Iowa State, and Illinois, Chicago in there. And then their supers matchup is Tennessee, who they've already beaten twice in Knoxville a couple weeks ago. And this would be in Columbia. So I feel like Missouri might be as close to a lock as any SEC team.
Am I crazy? Because I think Tennessee's going to get upset by James Madison.
Not crazy. I couldn't pull the trigger on that because James Madison is kind of like the Big Ten. We don't really know what we're getting. They didn't really play anybody this year. They're good. We think they're good. But how good are they against a Power 5 team? We don't really know this year, but I mean, it's a good pick. That regional is really difficult. Liberty is not, that's a good team too. There's a reason JMU is a 3 seed there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. That's true. Great. Real quick. You're also the voice of the Florida Gulf Coast League. Tell us briefly what that's all about.
Well, it has been so much fun to be a part of that league. When everything went down last year, I was really hungry to talk about sports, in particular softball, because I really enjoy the job I've got at Alabama. And I saw this college softball league starting up, summer league, kind of like what baseball's been doing, but this would be the first one, I believe, ever for softball. And I reached out and asked them about, streaming options and if they needed somebody to talk about them on the air. And they said yes. And Ryan Moore and Leslie Ginder and all those awesome people who run the league have done a great job building it up. Last year was really successful. We got everything off without a hitch, no COVID issues, 7 teams. We had a fantastic championship, a 10-9 game to decide the tournament at the end. And this year it's just gotten even bigger. 10 teams now. You've got players from all over the Power 5, including potential player of the year, Jocelyn Allo, coming in from Oklahoma to play this summer. It's been really fun. And I've gotten to know a lot more about college softball and meet more people from around the country because of this league. I kept up with everybody this year. I had a whole document. It was called the FGCL Tracker. And so I was putting in stats from Georgia Tech to North Dakota to every school in between. And this year, that's just going to expand so much more. And when you get to meet all these girls and see how talented they are and then watch them go off around the country at their various colleges, you get a better perspective of what softball is like around the country. And as someone who was so focused on the SEC for so long, that was really fun. I tracked the Missouri Valley more than I ever have in my entire life. And it was a really fun league to watch this year. So it's a really great option for these girls who want to get better, who want to improve. There are going to be a lot of people in the league this year who are in the transfer portal. So it's almost kind of an audition for new coaches who are thinking about picking up some of these players as well. And it's just a really, really great time. We have a lot of fun down there in Florida.
Speaking of the transfer portal, last question for you here before we let you go. John asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. Great. Could you tell us what kind of player we can expect to see next year in Skylar Wallace?
Skylar Wallace is a competitor. She is consistent at the plate. She's got a great mindset. One of my favorite post-game interviews in the world was with Skylar Wallace because she's just fiery and fierce. I'm interested to see where she fits in the field because I know she wants to play shortstop. that Florida apparently has a really good recruit coming in from California to play short as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle looks. But yeah, Skylar Wallace is a reliable top of the order player. And I think, like I was talking about earlier with Florida, when you've got some, I'll be honest, holes in the lineup, you need consistency at the plate more so than ever. And I think Skylar Wallace will definitely bring that next year for the Gators.
I got one last question for you. When you look at the SEC, you've seen them all, pretty much every team. As you mentioned in the batting lineup, 1 through 9, who has the best lineup 1 through 9?
Oh man, can I give a tie? I'll give Missouri and Alabama my ties. Missouri, just because there isn't a hole there. I mean, they are consistent up and down. They've got power. They've hit for average. Brooke Wilmus is a fantastic leadoff hitter. Jenna Laird, their number 2, is SEC Freshman of the Year. She has been kind of in a slump of late, but they've got a consistency and a fight that mirrors their coach, Larissa Anderson, because she is, just like Courtney Deifel, one of my favorite coaches to talk to. And boy, she does not take it from anybody. She will fight, and her team has taken on that personality. And I think with Alabama, it's just been the consistency that we've seen in this 13-game win streak. Of the regular starters, the lowest batting average in that streak is 264, which you'll take every day of the week, especially when that player is second on the team in that time in RBIs. So I feel like the consistency I've seen from Alabama, 1 through 9, even from the players hitting under 200, have made that lineup scarier going into the postseason. But, all stats can be thrown out the window when you get into the NCAA tournament, because it basically is everybody's 0 and 0, and everything resets here when we get into mayhem.
Yep. So I assume Gray has Alabama playing Oklahoma for the national title.
I do. This is my first. Now, I will say, before anyone says bias, this is my first time picking Alabama to win the national championship, and it's because I think that there's a deeper motivation with this team than there has been in years past. In 19, the team wanted to win. This year, there is a deeper desire to get there that I can't really put into words. And because of that, I just feel like after all this team has fought through this year, it's going to be tough to deny that. That being said, I have some Pac-12 friends who think I'm insane for not putting UCLA in the Champ Series.
Yeah, that's true. Great stuff, my man. Let everybody know how they can listen to your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. We are Out of the Box on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and it's @OutOfTheBox_pod on Twitter. We talk about the SEC, Alabama, the country. We had a big bracket preview show earlier this week where we broke down each regional, and we made our picks for OKC, Tom and I, and it's a ton of fun. We have great guests from around the country all the time. We let our Pac-12 friends in every now and then, and it's a really fun show.
Good stuff, my man. Good seeing you, buddy. Tell your family I said hello, and we'll talk to you soon, Gray.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yep, that's Gray Robertson. Join us on the Titan MRO Hotline. Going to take our final time out of the pro, come back, wrap up this Friday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank's becoming South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State will still have 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC and my man, Gray Robertson, for joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Quick little story about Gray. I've known him since he was a youngster. He used to come to my football camp. His dad's company, the Colonnade Group, put on the SEC Fanfare and all those big events for the SEC and do a tremendous job. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed today's program. Enjoy the PGA Championship, softball, baseball, tennis, you name it. A lot of stuff going on this weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.